All right, guys, welcome back. It's Tom Davidson, Landon Hutchison here with Yard Work. Today we have Razorback head baseball coach Jeremy Johnson, one of my favorite people of all time. He's been coming to our events since probably 2006 or 7. So we've known each other for a while, multiple national championships with Pastime. Jeremy, thanks for coming on with us. And kind of give us the rundown of how Razorback started, where you guys are based out of, and kind of what they're doing right now.
We're based out of Evansville, Indiana, basically coaching staff-wise. Most of our players now come from about a 2 to 3 hour radius of Evansville, but I am not advert to cherry picking. Well, we had a pitcher from Michigan last year. We had a pitcher out of Canton, Ohio last year. So basically, I will get everything I need from the resources that I have, and if I can't find what I need, I just keep flipping rocks until I find it. Since, unlike a lot of the teams, I have not been able to find that rich guy who wants to build me a facility yet. So realistically, our program's always been based out of just communication, phone calls, emails, all that, text. So in all actuality, like for right now, this doesn't seem that much different than any other normal day for me because we don't go necessarily somewhere every single day just to see these guys. All my communication is done through the phone, Twitter, everywhere else. So from that standpoint, from a communication standpoint, it's kind of business as usual. Realistically, what I try to do is just keep in touch with the guys. Here in the last week, I've kind of ramped it up because during the high school season, I kind of lay off. There's really no reason. I mean, we touch base, and I always tell them, let me know how you're doing. If I don't hear from a kid for a while, it's usually because he's not doing well. If they do real well, they'll be the first one to text me, let me know they went 3 for 3 with a couple doubles and all that kind of stuff. But right now, what we've decided to start doing is making sure that they're on their programs, what they're doing. And if they're not doing anything, getting them the information, because we expanded here in the off season. I'm not even sure if I told you this, Tom, that we have 10 teams now from younger kids all the way up. Yeah. So we've implemented the full workout programs and everything else so that if the guys don't either A, have the resources to have a personal trainer, on the younger kids side, I've even told them I don't even necessarily know, not to be disrespectful to anybody, but if I'd be paying a lot of money at the ages of 9 and 10 to do personal training when there's some really great resources out there. And after 20 years of doing this, you really need to figure out if your kid, even at a younger age, has the drive to do it. Because realistically, you're not going to stay in this game unless you have a drive to do it on your own. And kind of, that's part of my job is to help fuel that and get it moving in the right direction. But realistically, it comes back on them. I mean, you got to be surrounded by good coaches and everything, but the reality is the best guys we've ever had, at 17, for example, that team was extremely special. I never even threw those guys BP. They would leave 3 hours before we were supposed to be there as a team and go and do everything. And I even got up to one point, Tanner Craig, who's at the University of Evansville now, I was like, man, you guys are making me look bad. I was like, I want to start coming with you. They're like, when we lose, you can come. But we have this is what we do. This is what we're doing as a team, so.
This is the 40-0 team, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the 40-0 team. And what that kind of taught me was the guys who want to make it, take it on their own. I mean, yes, I still made out the lineup. I still, but at the end of the day, the best guys, they're fueled by their own drive. You have to, there's an analogy I always use. I'm looking for guys that, you never had to whip Secretariat all the way down the straight. You smacked her on the butt one time, and she knew it was go time. Yeah. And that's the kind of players we look for. I have to beat you down the backstretch. You're not the right guy.
Yeah, I mean, historically speaking, Razorback has always been like you guys have had that 18U team. I know you've kind of touched here and there with like a 16-year-old team, but yeah, we talked about just recently adding in those youth guys, the younger guys, as almost a feeder system. Do you feel like that's something that guys have been asking you to do, or is it something that you guys need to do to kind of, continue generating those top players within your own individual region there, or what?
It's a little bit of a combination of both. We've definitely been asked to look into it. I've been reluctant over the years to do it because one, you keep adding more people in. You have 1,000 different, the more heads you put in, the more ideas you have. And that's not a bad thing as long as everybody's rowing the boat in the right direction.
Right.
So you have that. And, even though I'm a pretty, and I know we go way back, I'm a pretty laid back guy. But when it comes to this program, I'm not that laid back.
Yeah, the competition side comes out 100%.
Yeah. And not even just the competition side, just the expectation side. I mean, we've been blessed with having a lot of good teams, but it's really not about the winning. At the end of the day, and I tell these guys this every year, if this is the highlight of your career, then we screwed up.
Yep.
I only have you for 6 or 7 weekends, maybe for a year or two, sometimes 3. My job is just to help get you ready to go on to do better things. It's not, this cannot be your highlight. Yeah. We're not
on that winning side. I know you're not going to brag about yourself, but I mean, I kind of will because I don't care what you think. But Razorback has been around long enough to win our national championship at the 18U, which is not always the easiest tournament to win. You got to win like 9 games to do it. And you're running through some of the top programs in the country that are all ranked by some other associations. Maybe you guys don't get the same kind of love even when you beat those guys. But, I mean, you're beating teams that are playing the Chi-Town Cream and Midland and the Bulls. And, how have you guys been able to sustain that year after year? Because, I mean, how many of those have you won now? 4?
4.
So, and then that 2017 group was 40-0, which, from our standpoint, we failed your guys that year in getting them beat. I mean, I don't want anybody to go undefeated during a tournament, let alone the whole summer.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Dave Evans, great guy with Midland Redskins. We had actually rained out against Midland 2 weeks prior. So there was a legitimate chance we could have been 39-1 if that rain wouldn't have came through. But
so that was Lexington, right?
Do what?
That was Lexington?
No, that was up at their place.
Okay.
We just go up there usually twice a year to go play them. And we rained out on a Sunday, so they just banged it. We went home. And, over the years, I think we've earned a little bit of their respect. I mean, they're tough. I mean, if I ever got rich, I would do Midland. That's what I would do because they do an outstanding job. But basically, talked to Dave, and he had told me that he thought that 17 team with Chris Well and all those guys was probably their best pitching staff they've ever had, depth-wise and everything else. So I'll be the first one to tell you, when we got to that championship game, I was literally walking in the dugout going, 39-1 isn't bad. 39-1 is not too bad. If that ends up happening, I can live with that. And then the 3rd or 4th inning rolled around, and that team was just special. I've had a lot of really good teams, but I started after the 3rd inning or 4th inning. I remember we all got in the dugout, and I think we were up. And, and I probably used a couple of splits, but I got the guys around, and I basically said, let's go get this thing, So, yeah, I mean, how we keep doing it, our players. I mean, that's just the bottom line. But I try to stay away from buzzwords and, I mean, I've gotten to the point where I actually hate the word grind because everybody uses it. And the culture thing, kind of same thing. But we definitely have a culture. There's an expectation with our program that one of the things I hate to hear is I got to get my work in. I got to get more at bat. I got to get my at bats. I got to get my innings. There's nothing wrong with that. But after 20 years of doing this and talking to you guys as college coaches and everything else, is if you do not have a really keen idea of how to compete and what your why is when you walk on campus, you're going to get spit up and chewed out. It's going to be over. So what I try to get those guys over a 6 or 7 week period is you have to learn how to compete. It's all about competition, and we're deep. We carry a ton of guys. Like that game against Midland probably had 60 people in the dugouts.
Oh,
Midland was probably rolling 30 something deep.
I think you guys we talk about that. There's this difference in select travel ball teams and then these super elite programs, which, whether you like it or not, you're a part of, and what makes those guys different. And, some of the travel ball teams, how it's kind of gotten watered down a little bit, and in the sense that they only take 12 guys because everybody has to play this much or that much, or the parents want to do that, where you've got POs on your team. But yeah, I think that game alone, I bet we handed out 59 to 65 rings.
Yeah,
because you guys in Midland have those POs that, they're there for development. You guys aren't there, to give everybody the same amount of playing time and all that. They're there for development to get to the next level and play college baseball.
No, a perfect example of that is in our, I guess it was our 18 team or 17 team. Had a young man, won't name him because it's just probably not the right thing to do. But we had a kid who didn't even throw. Whole tournament. Won the whole thing, never threw. Called me up 2 weeks later and was like, Coach, was there a reason I didn't throw? And I was like, probably not a good one looking back, because in the pool play, we probably had an inning or two there that we could have put you out there. But his whip was about a 1.65 for the spring, for the summer. And unfortunately, with these tournaments, every run counts. So it's not only winning, it's seeds. So looking back, oh yeah, I definitely should have threw him an inning or two. But what I loved about that kid was he's like, I'm gonna work harder. I'm gonna come back next year, and you're gonna have to start me in the game. And he did. He started our quarterfinal game through a shutout. It was the game that actually, this might tell you who he is, but he wore a Waffle House sleeve. I don't know if you guys have ever ate at Waffle House, but
not on a good day.
Yeah. Well, they have these sleeves. I guess they say they're so they don't burn, but I think it's just to cover up all the crazy tattoos. And it's black and it has Waffle House on it. And where we roll at, so we're always within 100 yards of a Waffle House. So, so that's where we ate for like 3 days straight, and a couple of our guys got one, but he came in that day and was, "You care if I wear this?" I was like, "Dude, are you serious?" And he goes, which he was always kind of a mental guy. It wasn't ability, it was mentality with him, kind of in between the years. And, I was like, "Your college coach is here today." He's like, "I know, but I feel good. If I wear this, I think it's going to be great." So I went up to his college coach, and I told him, I go, "Is this going to bother you if he wears this?" He goes, "I don't give a crap." He's like, as long as he throws well, I don't care. So I was like, "All right." I go, "You're probably going to get taken off in the first." If I was going against you and you had a Waffle House sleeve on and you threw well for one inning, the first thing I would do with the umpire is be like, "Does he have to have that on?" It's a freaking Waffle House sleeve.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things I like most about you guys is you guys are always laid back. You have the same coaches pretty much year after year. I know one of those years, 2017 or 18, I think you guys were playing the Bulls at some point, whether it's the semifinals or not. And I always come and find you guys and watch part of the game. But I had gotten to whatever field it was and started talking to you guys like I always do. And you were up like 3-2 or something, and you were down 5-3, and I had like tucked my tail between the legs and walked away because I felt like, maybe I distracted them a little bit, and you guys just laughed about it, and I, eventually went on to win that. But I think that's that laid back atmosphere, and letting somebody throw with the Waffle House sleeve on. I do remember that. Those are things that some coaches just, they wouldn't do, whether you liked it or not. That's pretty good stuff for sure.
Well, basically, I look at it as there's certain things you can't do. Like last year, I absolutely lost it down in East Cobb, Yankees Invitational. Not on the field. Well, we played real bad one game, got beat, and we had a discussion about what the program was and expectations. Because really, it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks every year, and then you have to have a blow-up conversation of you guys cannot ride the shirt tails of everybody else that came before you. Because that's the thing. You only come and play for us because of our history. So now you're here. It's your job to leave it better or as good as it was, you know. So if you do not do that, you're not really letting me down, because it's not, the program's not me. The program's all these other guys. And that's what you have to live up to. That's the only reason you're here, is all these other guys, you know. And realistically, it's how do you want to be remembered? We talk about that a lot. You know, how do you want to be remembered? You know,
So
you want to be the first team.
If you've got 30 guys on your squad, how many guys are coming to you when they're, you know, I know you get a couple 16-year-olds that are playing up at that division, at that level, but how many guys are coming to you that are unsigned that you've got to, you know, get signed throughout the whole process?
It's changed a lot over the years, especially here the last 2 or 3 years. Basically, being the 18U team, you know, like you said, we've, you know, I don't care if you're 12. If you can play, you can play. So we've had 15 and 16-year-olds. Sometimes we get a bad knock on that, because it's like the 18-year age now, depending on programs, they almost try to use it against you, because it's like, well, nobody will come watch them. It's like, well, realistically, we don't even worry about who's coming and watching us, as from the standpoint of blind people coming in. My job is to contact the coaches. I mean, really, 99% of our recruiting is done before the summer starts, because I've been working on it the whole off season. If it comes down to them having to see us, they're coming in specifically to see a player. So if we have a guy coming in, you know, pitching wise, he'll start that game. Doesn't matter. If he's a shortstop, you know, we've had this conversation. We may have a Division I shortstop who's our best, quote unquote, best shortstop. But if we have a junior or a sophomore middle infielder, and, you know, a school's coming in, they play that day. And the guys will know, they know that, and they're okay with it, because that's just the way it works. I don't have any, I mean, this sounds horrible when I say this, but I don't mean it bad. I don't even care about the concept of guys just seeing us when we're out, because if I do my job right, it's target marketing. I am selling my guys specifically to colleges that over 20 years, you know, I can call them up and say, I have a kid that's built like Tommy, his mentality's like Jason, and his arm works like Scott. And all three of those guys have already played there. So they have a much easier concept of putting together what we have.
Yeah, I think that's something that we get, Landon and I here in the office, get emails on regularly once events start, is, you know, what college coaches are going to be there, how many college coaches are there, who's going to see my kid. And a lot of times I'll respond and say, look, I don't know who's going to be there. You know, I don't know your players as well as you should, but your first step in the recruiting process, and I mean, this is for parents and the coaches, is, you know, the coach of that program knows those guys better. He's the one that can really go out. He should be the very first process in that recruiting stage and saying, hey, this is the kind of guy I have. This is where I think they probably fit on the college ball level, whether it's a JUCO, D2, D1 kind of guy. But ultimately, and that's the biggest thing we tell parents, is your coach is your best recruiting tool right off the bat. He knows where your guy should probably fit into the grand scheme of college baseball, regardless of level. It's not like we're giving you the opportunity to play. We get college coaches that'll come out just because it's our events, but ultimately they're not going to come to a Pastime event and just show up at Chittard. They know who's playing at Chittard, and they know, okay, well, this coach reached out to me and said he's got a guy that's, you know, 87, 88 with a slider. They know that stuff before they get there. They're not entirely relying on us to just get 140 teams at an event. They need to know this stuff, and like you said, that's your primary job. That's what you're supposed to be doing before we're the ones hosting the event.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the term I always use, I'm their wingman. That's my job. I'm supposed to be your wingman. You know, I'm supposed to set you up. I'm the guy who walks over to the table and lays the groundwork, so when you walk in, you're already in the door.
Right.
You know, and that's something else I also talk about our guys, is be good wingman for each other. You know, and you've probably seen this if you've followed me on Twitter, is I want guys who love helping their buddy score.
Yeah.
They do all the little things just to help them, because that's the thing. If you're only got guys who are always just trying to hit doubles in the gap and don't understand the concept that in a tight ball game, just going the opposite way with a guy on second and no outs is as good as hitting that double in the gap. I mean, yes, the double in the gap is great, but realistically, we're just trying to get him to third. If you fly out to left field and he's still standing at second base, that's not a productive at bat. So you have to think outside the box a little bit from the standpoint of it's not always about you, and that's one thing that we stress is that, compete, and you're a small piece to a big puzzle, now if you want to be a bigger piece and all that kind of stuff, then you got to work harder.
Jeremy,
Yeah.
how long did it take you to get that culture phase going? And also you talk about a selfless mentality. How long did it take before that really started to become a thing to be a Razorback,
Well, it's interesting because kind of going back to one of the first questions Tom asked me, and this is comical. Not some guys know this, but not a lot. So now the whole world's going to know this. The very first year we started, it was basically a very Evansville team. And this conversation is not meant to knock Evansville by any means, but it was so in its infancy that the very first team we had that we took out as the city limits, we went to the NABF regional. And on that team, before we could leave town, I had to get an okay from my probation officer for my first baseman to leave the county. And I only had 3 kids on the team that even played high school baseball. My best pitcher got kicked off of a team because in the middle of running his warm-ups around the field, he stopped and urinated on the fence, and he didn't understand why that was an issue because he just had to go to the bathroom. So that's where we started. That was in 2002. And then in 2007, we were playing for the NABF National Championship. So realistically, and Tom can probably attest to this, even after all these years, I still kind of look at us as we're just, we're always trying to prove ourselves that we belong. I've never looked at us at the same level as anybody, because at the end of the day, it's always, every game's the new game, every year is a new year, maybe when I retire and I can look back and be like, yeah, that's cool, and I've got my little man cave out here by the, pool and everything that has all kinds of stuff, but realistically, everything, it just starts over,
How did that transition take place from, a guy peeing on fence and that was maybe almost acceptable in their thought process to these guys now that, they don't even need coach to show up. They're going to go to the field 3 hours early. They're going to get their work in and they're going to be ready to go and come out 40-0.
With each guy that played before it, because we started off, and I'll be honest, God love those guys. We finished third in that NABF tournament. They were scrappers, they probably couldn't pass classes, and I doubt any of them went to college of any significance. Actually, I think 2 of them have actually done jail time, but realistically, they were scrappers, and so the next year you just try to, you're always just trying to improve your clientele, and then the real turning point was probably 05, we got Kevin Hoff out of Triad, Illinois, and we had Stuart Imes, who went to the University of Louisville, and we had him as a sophomore. Those were probably 2 of my biggest grabs early. And then 06, we kind of started our run in Louisville from a standpoint of getting some high-quality players out of Louisville. We got Jeff Arnold, who went on to play at Louisville, was actually a captain at Louisville. He was the first Courier Metro Player of the Year out of Louisville. And I think after that one, we got basically the next 3 years, we got the Player of the Year out of Louisville. So realistically, you just kind of start, it's kind of just like recruiting, at anywhere. You get a really high profile guy and they enjoy it, they're your best recruiters. They'll go back and tell their buddies that, hey, man, this was a lot of fun. Because that's the thing. With the way travel ball is now, and I think more teams do this now than they used to, but we travel together, we stay together. I would not coach this team if they all stay with their parents. It's all about being together as a team. That's the college prep side of it. We all stay in rooms. You have curfews. You have team meetings each night. You know, we started this about 8 years ago because Bob Davis, which I know you know Bob, he's been my assistant coach basically every year. And he used to do all the laundry and everything because I will not touch laundry. If I have to do laundry, we ain't doing it. You know, if Bob's gone there for a couple of years, we just wore dirty pants unless the kids wanted to do it because I'm not doing laundry. You know, it's not happening. You know, so Bob got tired of doing laundry. So about 5-6 years ago, you know, and if you watch us after a game, it gets very heated. We do paper, rock, scissors between rooms on who does laundry, who collects laundry, who does coolers, you know, so that everybody, because, you know, we're not doing it. It's, you know, it's not our team. It's your team. You got to take care of your own stuff. And the parents.
That goes into the bonding side of it as far as there's more of an experience just outside of playing the game every day. You get to play the game. There's everything else involved with it has to go into 60% of the reason you're there is the guys around you and the experience and knowing those guys.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, you know, kind of how we roll from a staying standpoint. Most of our guys come from really good younger programs from wherever they're from, and God love it. And I've tipped my toes into this younger pool. And when I started this program, you know, the teams that we've gotten were kind of turnkey this year. We kind of absorbed a program that had been around for a while, and it's a good program. But the first 3 or 4 meetings, it took us like 5 weeks to figure out uniforms for these younger guys. And you've seen our uniforms. I mean, it's PR, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and I tried to get across to these guys that, you know, one, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like to look nice, but all you're doing is making it more expensive for whoever's fitting the bill, you know. And honestly, you know, again, it kind of goes into, it's not about how you look, it's how you play. You know, I've seen some really good looking teams that did not do very well.
Yeah, I think you brought something up a couple of years ago when, you know, I was making fun of where you're staying every now and then. And you're like, look, why would I want to stay somewhere where the guys would rather be at the hotel than at the baseball field? We're staying at a spot where these guys are saying, look, get me out of here. Let's go to the field now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah. They're like, what are we supposed to do here? I was like, we're supposed to win. We don't have a pool. We're not a swim team. You know, I mean, you know, I've seen you guys on occasion when we have a pool, you do stupid crap. You're flipping in, you're doing all kinds of stuff. You know, we stay away from malls because I always tell them, if you go to the mall, you know, if you can't bring it back in a bag, don't bring it back because they're 18-year-old kids. All they do is go out and do things they're not supposed to do. So really, we as coaches, we really enjoy them so that we have, you know, we know what's going on, but we're competitive. We go bowling, we bowl. We split them up into teams, and losers are going to have to do something. You know, we go play putt-putt. It's pretty much no holds barred. We're, you know, winner gets something, loser loses. You know, I mean, there's not too many things that we do that aren't competitive.
I think that's also,
you know, so
that's a reason. Sorry, I think that's also too a reason, Jeremy, that, you know, coaches like myself like recruiting guys from your program because this is a generation, or I don't want to say it's a generation, but the process has been, you know, everyone gets a trophy. Everything's, you know, just handed to you. Everyone's got all the fancy, you know, places, and you're not about that. You're about making people competitive, giving them the experience they need to have, and doing the little things. You know, that makes it easy for us. You know, they've been competing all summer. They're going to come in, they're going to do what they need to do to win. That's what you want.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you, Tom, you're going to kick out of this, is last year, I think it was our Midland, we stayed at an Airbnb, and it got out to some of our other guys who had played with us. Oh, they were so mad. You know, they were like, you went soft on us, coach, you know, because honestly, everything about it, they wear it with a badge of honor. I mean, because really it's like, you know, because you always kind of hear the whole JUCO grind, you know, you know, it's kind of similar to that. It's like, you know, it's not about all the pretty, you know, it's about, you know, getting out there and competing. I mean, and that's, you know, you can't say it enough. It's like, if we don't get that down in the time that I have you, then I failed you. Because when you get to college, you're going to suck. You know, and you're going to
big transition.
Yeah, well, and you're gonna go into excuse making, and it's like there is no excuse making. You're either, you know, at the end of the day, that's like, you know, every once in a while I have parents, and like when I started these younger guys, they're like, well, how many kids do you carry? I'm like, 24, and it just shocks them. How do you keep 24 people happy? It's not about, you know, I don't even think about keeping them happy, you know, and it's not in a bad way, because I mean, I do a lot of my due diligence to make sure that I don't pick a kid up just to have him. Everybody, and I say this at our meeting, you know, everybody, we need every single person to do what we're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, the shape of your piece of the puzzle and the size of your piece of the puzzle is up to you. And it's going to change throughout the course of the whole time, but we need everybody. And at the end of the day, if you're that middle reliever, you're going to probably get in a game maybe twice in a 4-game weekend. But guess what? If you're my right-hand guy, or sometimes my left-hand guy, my go-to middle reliever, you're probably the most important guy on the team, because you're getting us out of jams, you know. And then the flip side is maybe you're a pitcher, younger on the younger side, that honestly, my job is to market you. And, you know, and coach will know this, stats aren't everything unless you don't have them. You know, if you don't have stats, you're not good enough. If your stats get too high, then they start wondering who the hell kept the book, you know. So realistically, you got to stay in that kind of that mid-range. But like I tell our guys is, say we have a guy that's got a nice fastball, but he just really doesn't either have A, the experience, or B, you know, the depth to throw 4 or 5 innings. Okay, so now you're a reliever. Well, that's good. You can go out there for 1 inning, twice a weekend, and shove, maybe get up to where you're averaging 1.5, 2 strikeouts an inning, and then you throw 15 to 20 innings for the summer with 35 strikeouts, and your ERA is minuscule because basically you just came in and shoved for an inning here and there, and then we're marketing you, you look like a star. If you have to go out there and pitch 5 or 6 innings, and this is the same way with the starters, and this is why I get these guys to buy into the depth of the pitching, is a lot of times in high school, they give you the ball and say, basically, it's your game. Well, a lot of times you're going to throw really well for 4 or 5 innings, and you're going to get tired. It's the 3rd time through the lineup, and you're going to give up 2 or 3 runs. You still may win, but you're giving up 2 or 3 runs late because you're tired. It's the 3rd time through, and it's going to be reflecting your numbers. With us, you give us 4 or 5 innings, you come out, give up a run, no runs, maybe 2 runs, and then somebody else pitches shutout innings in the 6 and 7, everybody looks good. So basically, my job is to save you, not only save your pitch count, but also save you from giving up crap runs because you're tired.
Yeah, you know, I think that's part of your development side is you're getting these guys. Yeah, maybe, you know, June 4 to 7 weekend, you've got that guy you're talking about that can only get to inning 4. Maybe just hasn't built up, you know, enough to get to that level. But, you know, July 23 comes around, maybe that guy is now at a 5 or 5.5, 6 innings of work that he can go out and comfortably do without hitting that wall where some of the teams right now, they just look at him and say, look, you have to go 6 innings. Like if you're giving up 3 or 4 runs through 6, you have to, because we don't have anybody else left. Where in your position, you're basically, you're running a college program while these kids are 15, 16, 17, 18, and putting them in that situation on, this is what you should expect once you're done with Razorback baseball, and this is how it's going to work. You got to do everything, put in all the work now to build up to where I can release you to a college coach and they go, yep, Timmy can come in, he can throw 6 innings, that's all I need him for.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of the college coaches, I mean, they'll keep track of how they're doing. That's what usually Monday mornings and Tuesday mornings are for me in the summertime, is touching base with all the college coaches, letting them know how they did. But realistically, since everybody stays with us and everything, it's more about how's he off the field. Is he the last guy at the meeting? Does he do what he's supposed to do? Are you having to double check him? Because early on, we don't do this as much anymore, but we still always have the right to do this. Is we used to tape their doors shut from the outside, so that way if they open the door, the tape broke. You know, so realistically, it would be very difficult to, unless they
2002 group. There's not enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. You know, you come by things honest. When you start off with a little bit of the shadier group, you know, you got to kind of work yourself up a little bit.
So what's changed the most for you from a like a tournament situation with travel ball as it's changed? I know, I mean, I've changed from when I played. When I played, we had 4 people in a hotel room and all that stuff, just like you guys do. But from the tournament side, what has changed from the event holders? What's something that, just has changed completely that has affected, the way you guys do things, or maybe even your approach?
One, places are a lot nicer than when we first started. Realistically, when we first started, you didn't have, national level organizations that ran your tournaments. You basically ran your tournaments almost just so that you wouldn't have to leave town. It really wasn't even about making money. It was, you saved money by not having to leave town, So really, when we first started, organizations ran tournaments,
Right.
Not a separate entity, a third party. But since that stuff's taken over, like yourself and everybody else, the facilities have went up tremendously. You get to play at some outstanding places. You get a lot bigger tournaments, which, I'm kind of 50-50 on. They don't really bother me either way, because at the end of the day, I don't play 100 teams. I'm only going to play as many teams as you put on the schedule, Now,
I have that conversation like 30 times a year where a team's like, we don't want to go to, I don't know, say Western Kentucky because there's only 8 teams there. Can you move us to Louisville where there's 85 teams? And I'm like, look, there's still only going to be 5 teams in your pool. You got to win your pools. It doesn't matter how many teams are there. And if you win the whole thing, you might only play 7 different teams. Like it's that the quantity of teams does help attract a lot of college coaches. They can say, okay, well, I can be in the same area and catch these 11 teams I want to go see. But ultimately, if you're not, and more times than not, it's somebody that's, one of those borderline teams where they may not even get out of pool play anyway. And I'm like, look, go there for you go to this Western Kentucky event, you're going to play on a college venue 3 times. You come here and go to Louisville, you may never see a college venue. You're going to play at nice fields, but it's not about how, a 300-team tournament. They're not going to help you get exposure. You got to go through the whole process for that.
Well, it's funny that you bring up Louisville, because the last few years, and me, because I don't even really have my team meeting till like February or March.
Right.
Usually late January, February. Well, by then, sometimes, money's not even in yet. So, and I get emails from some people that are like, hey, you got to get your money in, or you're not going to be on the preferred field. So, we get to Louisville and the guys are like, so when do we play at Louisville? Final. Well, why not? You can, why are these other guys getting there? Because they paid early. Well, why didn't you pay early?
I didn't have money.
I was like, it's not about it. You want to play at Louisville? Get to the final. I mean, some guys have to get the money in early to guarantee they play there. You want to play there? You'll figure it out.
Yeah, earn it.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter unless it's the final. You're just playing there on a Saturday. Don't get me wrong, I love that place. Played there countless times. But again, to me, it's still just a little bit of a nugget. I'm not handing you everything, guys. You want the best, you got to earn it. At the end of the day, that's just what it is. So, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's good stuff. You're obviously one of our favorite people in general, not talking about just, I don't really like you that much, but I like the program anyway.
No, I feel the same.
Outside of that 2017 group, give me one of your favorite baseball memories, because I mean it's hard to beat 40-0 and all that stuff. But give me one of your favorite baseball memories within tournament atmosphere kind of play.
Well, I'll be honest, the 40-0 season, I don't even know for sure if I would consider that my favorite season, because it was an extremely stressful season from the standpoint that you're just waiting for the other shoe to fall, And I even remember saying, like, 2 weeks left in the year before the tournament, the year-end tournament, that I was like, I kind of wish we just lose a game and get it over with, which is so ignorant. Why would you ever want to lose? That old concept that, you can't go undefeated, so let's just lose the game, and then, which was dumb. But let's see here. Favorite memory, man, I don't know.
It's not us at BW3s.
Yeah, I still actually truly do remember that. But I don't know. I mean, we have you do a great job on the field. There's really too many games, because I mean, there's been some, and I'm pretty vocal. I've kind of mellowed out a little bit over the years, but I'm not afraid to chirp a little bit, and some people will call it a little, rough around the edges. I don't think we've ever got to the point of being quote unquote bush league, but some guys are like, that's, what are you doing? I'm like, has anybody ever watched the state finals, in College World Series, anything? If you're not up on the top step and 100% in the game, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
So this concept that we have to be like the PGA Tour when we're at these tournaments where everything's really quiet is so annoying, because at the end of the day, I'm leaving my family for 4 or 5 days. My son usually comes with me, which, God forbid, if you ever have to deal with him as a coach, he will be, because he's had 20 years of experience. I mean, he is so far advanced for a 13-year-old. It's kind of probably bad parenting, but I don't get the point of, let's talk. Let's, get after it, and if they go
that's a player's mentality. We like to chirp. I mean, it's a part of the competitive side of it. I mean, every baseball player, I don't know that I know many baseball players that I continue to hang out with that didn't have a little bit of swagger. I mean, from a baseball side, every lefty, they can't put their hat on straight, whatever it is. But the other side, I mean, you got to have a little bit of swagger. If you're not chirping, where's the fun?
Well, that's what I was, and I've had conversations a couple of times with the umpires and everything. And the thing is, there's an art to it. And I try to tell our guys, you have to learn how to cheer for your guy, but lean on theirs.
Yeah.
You have to feel momentum. You have to sense blood in the water, and you have to be able to capitalize. It's not just yelling at them, they stink or something. You just have to, like, the one thing, and I don't coach third anymore, but you'll still hear me yell from the dugout, is if there's a guy on third, okay, we teach aggressive secondaries, pass ball, we want you to go. Well, I've always said, when the ball gets by, we score. And about 7, 8, 10 years ago, one of my guys goes, you never say if, you say when. He goes, why? I go, because that pitcher can hear me. And he knows when he screws up, we're going to score. It's not if, it's when, because he will screw up. He will make a mistake. He will not bury that curveball in the dirt, because that's what I tell our guys too. We get a guy to third base, guess what they're not going to throw? Curveball in the dirt, because they don't have enough trust in that catcher 9 times out of 10 to throw a breaking ball in the dirt. So now, from a hitting standpoint, guess what I can look? Knees up, get ready to tattoo a baseball. We run a lot on 2 outs, 0-2 counts, which I'm kind of telling, but anybody who watches this will know it, because I'm not going to just let our guy go down on strikes. You're going to have to throw us out. You're going to have to do something. We're not just going to sit there. And if we get thrown out to end the inning, guess what? That guy gets up again. We just saved you. You don't have that strikeout. You get to go right back up there again, start your next inning.
Everybody's mental psyche over there.
Yeah, we're not going to leave an inning with a guy on first base.
Yeah.
We're either getting thrown out going to second, or, but we're not just going to stand there. That's what drives me nuts when I watch high school.
your brain doesn't recognize the word not. Did you know that? So if I say I will not shank this ball, you're going to shank it because your mind doesn't recognize that. So you're actually feeding into the mental psyche pretty well right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on the mental side. I mean, from the standpoint, I probably don't even, I'm not smart enough to know all those things. It's just, you know,
I can vouch for that.
yeah. I mean, I've had to really, one, I got to be able to talk because if you've never met me, I'm not 6'4" and great looking and everything. I mean, I have to do all my damage by conversation. I got to kind of do it that way.
So before we let you go, looking at 2020, assuming we get to play at some point, you got some guys that may carry the team this year, but what are they doing right now to prepare and kind of stay in shape?
But basically, just send out we have a kind of a group text message, and usually the guys will get on. They have their own groups that I don't even see, which is sometimes a little scary. But basically, double checked with them this past week. Everybody got their throwing programs, where you at, and start checking in with me weekly. Like I said, it's a little bit different than normal because I don't like to ever come across with the high school season as our season's more important than theirs, because it's not. It's just out of respect for them. But since nothing's going on, it's let me know where you're at. I did have the opportunity to listen to a little bit of your guys' stuff here the last couple of days when I was driving around for work. And, as far as the pitch counts and all that, same thing that we're going to go into. I kind of set it up the concept that realistically, probably nobody will go too far with us until week 4 or 5, which really our starting pitchers pitch counts are 75 to 90 pitches per start with 5 days rest in between. Sometimes it goes to 6 depending on each week. So they don't really throw tremendous a ton anyway, but you've really got to treat May almost like March and June this year because they haven't thrown. Now, and I've told the pitchers, I was like, you guys really got to start, working hard, because this could be your summer. These poor guys haven't hit at all. You're going to, pitching's going to have our pitchers need to come ready because the hitters are going to be behind. And so we kind of, our pitching and our defense, which, we have pretty good speed again, not as fast as 18. 18 had 6 kids in our starting lineup that ran a sub 6.7. So we could really move. That was a fun team to, watch.
Yeah, I think you'll see who worked harder, during this downtime, whether it's the pitchers or the position players. From a hitting standpoint, I feel like you can do a lot of work right now to get ready, whether it's tee work, soft toss, things like that. And pitchers, they've got, a lot of these guys may think that they have to have somebody to throw with. They've got to have somebody to catch. They've got to go through bullpens. Those are all great things to be able to do. You don't have to have all that right now to be able to put your work in and get your arm in the right spot to where it needs to be before the summer starts.
Yeah, we have one of our kids that was with us last year. He does long toss by himself. Takes a bucket, 5-gallon bucket, throws, goes picks them all up, throws it back. Yep. And it's just back and forth. And I was telling him, I was like, you guys need to kind of maybe, which Lysol right now is like gold, so you probably couldn't find it even if you wanted to. But if you got like 10 baseballs and 4 people, they could throw it, then you could flip it to the guy and he could have 10 balls Lysol, so nobody would ever touch the same baseball, and then it could dry off. It would be somewhat of a complex system, but it would probably work.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. Look forward to maybe getting you number 5 this year if we can get playing. And, just love having you guys out here every summer. So I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.